What's going on, guys? It's Everett here, and we're going to talk about some stuff related to shoulder health, shoulder performance that doesn't get a lot of attention, but once I started training in this way, it helped me out a lot, and that's actually your scapulas. So we're going to go through some movements and things that you can either add to your warm-up, add to your daily schedule, or for some of you, it actually can be part of your workouts. And you can start out really easy with these and regress them, or you can progress them and make them pretty difficult, again, to where they're actually like an accessory movement on like your bench press day or your overhead press day or a shoulder day. So your shoulder blades are obviously behind you and they slide and glide on your ribs. So it's a convex and concave surface moving together, and there's fascia in between your scapula or your shoulder blades and your ribs. Now, a lot of people don't really pay attention to their mobility or control of their shoulder blades, but when it comes to shoulders, everybody knows about your rotator cuffs, right? Even though most people don't know much about rotator cuffs, they know someone who's torn them, or they've seen somebody at the gym just doing, something like this with a band, trying to warm up their rotator cuffs. Now your rotator cuffs, they all attach to your humerus or this top arm bone right here, and then they connect to your shoulder blades. So obviously if your shoulder blades aren't doing what they should, that's gonna provide a good amount of dysfunction with your shoulder joint, your glenohumeral joint, and those rotator cuff muscles. Again, you've seen people isolating them like that. That's not bad to do, but let's face it, this is a pretty awkward motion to be doing in real life. Rotator cuff muscles work dynamically with each other to stabilize your shoulder as it moves, okay? So we need to train the entire system within movement, and the scapulas are part of that, and people just end up isolating, once again, the rotator cuffs, thinking that that's gonna magically cure their shoulder pain, and it's not, all right? So your shoulder blades, they can do a couple different things. They can elevate straight up, they can depress, meaning go down. They can protract and retract, all right? Abduction and adduction. And then they can also upwardly rotate and downwardly rotate. And so say you're trying to go overhead with a barbell or dumbbells or do a handstand. Well, those shoulder blades need to move to allow your shoulder to do that. So what people end up doing is they just do a bunch of dumbbell presses and they get shoulder pain right here. And they either try to get a lacrosse ball and massage their shoulder where they feel it, or again, do rotator cuff exercises or shoulder stretches, and they don't realize it's the scapulas that's actually restricting their arm movement and their shoulder movement, causing the pain. So again, we're gonna go over a couple exercises. You can do these as often as you want, make them difficult, make them harder. But step number one for most people is just getting them to realize how to use their shoulder blades throughout all of those movements: elevation, depression, protraction, and retraction. So you might want to video yourself with your phone and again, do these body weight in a really simple fashion just to gain nervous system control over those movements right from the get-go. So let's hop into the first exercise. So the first exercise we'll cover are controlled articular rotations, or CARs, for your shoulder blades. So we've covered CARs for different areas of the body in other videos, but these are specifically to connect all of the positions we talked about in the introduction into one full movement. They look really simple, but to do them right and keep the shoulder blades nice and even and build up a really nice contraction at each position and during each transition is incredibly difficult. So once again, use your phone to take a video of yourself, actually see what your shoulder blades are doing here. As you can see, there's a difference on my left and right side. My left side is my quote unquote trouble side. So this is significantly better movement, control, and range of motion than I used to have, but I still have a lot of training to go. So daily I would do from 2 upwards of 10 reps in each direction, clockwise and counterclockwise. Again, you might have to video yourself every single day to really give you some feedback on how you're doing. But try to do these every day, and this is not a loose exercise, it's not flowy. Imagine you have weights in your hands. Now you might say, well, why don't I just hold weights? One, that makes this way too difficult, and two, you can build up as much contraction in your back muscles as if you had weights without weights. And that's what we're going for, is internal control, doing it all on your own, no external stimulus. Now there's a number of ways you can do these. These are just kneeling, and I've got my hands out for a little bit of visual feedback to see if one arm is higher than the other. You can do these as well closed chain, meaning I have my fists up against a wall and I'm pushing my body away from that wall and then pulling my body towards that wall and going throughout retraction, protraction, elevation, and depression. And one of the harder variations of these is in a plank. You could also do this on all fours, but the plank is obviously adding a little bit of weight. Don't immediately jump to the plank. Again, most people will have range of motion and neuromuscular connection issues. So when you add weight, you might start just compensating and actually getting worse at this position. So do the regressed or easier versions first. Now, typically what I have to do with clients is break down the full controlarticular motion and just focus on one piece to, again, get more range of motion, more strength, and more awareness of the muscle groups you're using. So right here, we're just focusing on retraction and protraction with a little bit of shoulder blade elevation. So the shoulder blades are kind of neutral in terms of being up or down, but we're retracting or pinching the shoulder blades and then pushing the floor away. So I like to do these in a plank because weight gives you a little bit of feedback, and these aren't so difficult for a lot of people. But if they are too difficult, you can drop to quadruped or on all fours position and focus on those retractions and protractions. So I would do 10 reps in each direction. If you really start to fail at 10 reps, just do 6, something like that. These are great to throw into all of your upper body warm-ups, so bench day, overhead press day, even squatting day, since you typically retract pretty hard at the shoulder blades to set up to have a bar on your back. Throwing these type of moves into your warm-ups really assures that you do them at least a couple times each week and you don't start skipping days. After this, we have weighted shrugs. So typically shrugs, you just try to pull your shoulders up as high to your ears as possible. What I'm trying to do is keep a hard retraction of the shoulder blades as I elevate and depress. And I'm using the weights to kind of pull me down into more of a controlled depression. Now, if you go too heavy here, what you'll see is at the top of the shrug, the shoulder blades start to upwardly rotate. And that's not the worst thing, but we're really trying to focus on just keeping retraction throughout elevation and depression. So I'm holding 35-pound dumbbells. I can shrug over 400 pounds for sets and reps. And this is very, very difficult with just 70 pounds. So what I actually did was I dropped to holding 225s, and that allowed me to have a smaller movement but maintain that retraction while I went up and down with the shoulder blades. Now, this is very, very tricky initially, and you will get extremely sore, even off something as simple as like 3 sets of 10 reps with 60-second rest. So I would start with that number, start light, and again, focus on the back muscle contraction here. Throw these in once a week, throw them on your deadlift day or maybe your bench press day. And if you don't have a deadlift or bench press day, just throw them in once or twice a week, and this will help with elevation and depression, and especially that retraction throughout both those movements. And now we're going to work on a little bit of overhead retraction and protraction with some depression mixed in. So you can't see it in the video. I have a very light rubber band, a TheraBand. They're extremely light, okay? And I've just got it set up to a little hook. And so what I'm doing is getting my shoulder blades nice and even, and I'm focusing on my low back muscles. I'm trying to pinch my shoulder blades together and pull them down. And when I let my shoulder blades drift forward, it's extremely controlled. So I'm essentially going into protraction and elevation of the shoulder blades, and then I'm going into depression and retraction of the shoulder blades. This is a great way to improve your overhead position for Olympic lifting or overhead barbell pressing, and it's going to tax all of those positions the shoulder blades need to be in a very different fashion than doing the shrug version I just showed you. So once again, 3 sets of 5, 3 sets of 10, use them as your warm-up. If you don't go to the gym that often, then maybe do this 2 to 3 times per week for several weeks to build up a lot of back control. And after we do these broken up retraction and protraction exercises, we would go back and do more cars, so another couple reps throughout the entire range of motion to kind of download those new positions and to connect the new positions that we just got stronger at. And there you have it, scapula training. So a little funky, but definitely important, especially if you're into like gymnastics, you do a lot of planche work or handstands and powerlifting. You gotta have that retraction and depression for benching and squatting. So as always, if you like the video, hit the like button. That's what it's there for. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I've got a full hip mobility course that takes a lot of this type of training and lays it out for hips. It's 16 videos long, 2.5 hours of content, and it's laid out in a very progressive manner like an education course. So check it out on my website, link in the description. It's only 29 bucks and it helps the channel out a lot. So see you in the next video and thanks for watching.